Welcome, everyone. We are at season 3, episode 5. We are supposed to have a special guest, but he's not here yet. So we're going to go on with the show because that's kind of what we got to do here. So, guys, one of the things that I was thinking about here is we saw Joe Ross pitch today, and we've kind of gotten Joe Ross and Jordan as, the Hoffman and Estevez replacement. Joe Ross is not good. He has 2 pitches. They're both straight, and they're often right over the plate. So I'm very concerned. Like, this guy's a long man to me. So who do you see filling in that spot that, Hoffman was?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. I think they're really putting a lot of eggs in Orion Kirkring's basket. I think they really think that this is the year he takes that next step and becomes that Hoffman type guy. And I think Romano is going to be the closer. I think at least to start the season they're gonna roll that way. But I really think it's Orion Kirkring that's going to be the guy. I mean, I was looking at Joe Ross's stats today, and he's like a 4.17 career. Last year was his first time in the majors from 2021. So he was out of the league for 3 years before coming back in. I just don't understand what the Phillies saw that made them think that he was going to be a guy that could step in and I think the bullpen is definitely weaker than it was when the season ended last year.
What was he doing for those 3 years, Chris?
I have no idea. I didn't dig that deep. I mean, the one was the COVID year, so he may have opted out
Okay.
that year. But I don't. Did he have an injury? I don't know if he did or not.
I remember reading that he had it was either an elbow or a shoulder that he was rehabbing. I don't know that it took the whole 2 years, but
Yeah, I just from what I saw from him today, he was getting hit hard. I mean, I know it's his first outing in the spring, but yeah, I didn't see much to get excited about.
I mean, the thing that we worry about Kirkring, but you don't know, is he wasn't really put in many high leverage situations, right? It was, I think, out of his X amount of appearances, I think it was 18 were what they consider high leverage, whatever you kind of like, whatever the metrics are for that. But how do we know if this guy isn't going to be, good if he's not put into those situations? So Kirkring replaces Hoffman. And Romano, like, this dude was legit for 3 years 1 year ago,
Yeah.
Take away last year. Like, this guy was just the absolute man. But is Topper going to give that role to him? And if it's not him closing, who closes? Which of these dudes do? Are you Strom, Alvarado?
So the problem is we do this closer by committee, and all of a sudden the committee isn't as good as it used to be, right?
Yeah.
So, as far as the other guy, what was his name? Joe
Ross.
Joe Ross. I just remember when you guys were talking about he's got 2 pitches and they're both straight. Like, I remember a Leo Mazzoni interview back in the mid '90s, and he's talking about Maddox, and he's like, can't break pane of glass with the ball, but he fools hitters with location and change of velocity and movement. And this is a guy who had a 77 pitch shutout game in 2 hours and 5 minutes or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
So to your point, I would love to hear someone's opinion who's in the know of what they saw in this guy and what they think they could teach him, because he's been in the league a little while, and if it's hard to teach that, right? Like, you have to really get into, Chris, you both know, it's hard to work the ball in and out, up and down, if that's not what you've done before and that's not your forte. So I'd love to hear, like you said, what the thinking was. I don't know if he was just like the last guy thrown into that trade or whatever, but
I mean, it's really an underwhelming bullpen when you look at the guys that are out there. I mean, Strom was great last year. He did have that one little blip in the middle of the season there where he struggled, but at that point he had thrown a lot of innings in the first half. But Tanner Banks, I mean, who does he scare? Alvarado, if he's on, he's as good as anybody. But is he going to be on? I mean, Joe Ross, Taijuan Walker. I mean, are they the same guy? Because they look like they might be the same guy. What's their role? What are they going to do? You got two of the same guy in that bullpen. You're dropping a lot on Kerkering. I think Romano. I mean, I think towards the end of last year, once they acquired Estevez, he was the closer. Like he was coming in the ninth, and I think Romano's just going to inherit that role, this year.
And Chris, I'm going to set you up for something. When the Phillies went out and paid $4 million for Joe Ross, do you know what they got?
Joe Ross.
That's it.
Yeah. They got Joe Ross.
Like
exactly.
This is what this dude's done. Yeah.
We were texting back and forth today. He's got two pitches and they're both straight. He said, so he's Joe Ross. Yeah, like that's what he is. And I mean, unless Walker has some tremendous turnaround, I see like you have two spots in your bullpen that are the same guy. I just don't get it. I just don't understand. I mean, a guy I was holding out for because he was still a free agent up until either yesterday or today was that Kyle Finnegan that pitched for Washington for a lot of years. I was like, there's the power arm. There's the Hoffman type guy that you can bring in, and he's got closer experience. I thought he would have been a perfect guy to come in. I don't think he broke the bank either. I think he got a pretty reasonable deal from Washington to go back there. But I think that was a guy the Phillies could have, late in, we're already into the spring training games, maybe it brought him in, and he I think had the potential to be a difference maker in the back end of this bullpen.
Yeah, guys, I think bullpen has to be strikeout guys, right? It just has to be. That's kind of like what a bullpen is. The back end of the bullpen, not the, he's a long reliever. Or if someone gets hurt, he's like, the fifth or sixth starter. But when I think about it, like, are you bringing your two right-handers? Like, what if you're right-handed out and it's the seventh inning? Topper's done this shit, right? Yeah. He'll bring in Romano in the sixth and Kerkering in the seventh. And then it's like, all right, go get him, Jose.
They put it in the Yahtzee thing and they rolled it.
Yeah.
So I agree. The bullpen's a big concern for me this year.
And I would like to see this guy throw, right? I have not seen him in a Phillies uniform. I don't think he's been on the mounds, guys. But
Romano?
Yeah.
No, he hasn't yet.
So, I think that's something that's different because when it's a live game, the adrenaline's going. I'd really like to see like what this guy is about. And last year, I think those things are a blip unless like last year is this year, right?
Yeah.
The bullpen's been in flux forever, though. Like, really, if you think the 2020, 21, 22, 23, we kind of got lucky. 24, we got a little lucky at times. But this is something that they're obviously didn't target enough. And I think it makes or breaks a playoff team. That's
agree.
Not, brain surgery to say something like that.
I think some of what we talked about on prior episodes was kind of this year being like a reset year for the Phillies because you have some expiring contracts. You have Castellanos going into his last year. I think the bullpen is where they cheapened out, like where they decided they weren't going to spend money to improve. They were just going to try and get by with the bullpen pieces they have and depend on a really good starting five with possibly having Painter show up later in the season. And then the offense, hitting and producing up to their capability. And then maybe at the deadline, if we're in the race and we need to add a piece, they have some pieces on the farm that they can spend the money, they can trade somebody, and maybe that guy's the over the top guy in the back of the bullpen. So I think they're just that's where they went in with the mindset of we're not going to spend a lot of money in the bullpen this year, and we're just going to let it ride, and we're going to develop Kerkering and rely on Strom and Alvarado and those kinds of guys. But but it could be what cost them, games this year.
So you said Painter out loud. Do you think Painter is just a starting pitcher, or could he be a piece in the bullpen earlier than maybe the All-Star break?
I think he's a starter. I think he's going to be stretched out as a starter. And I wouldn't want him pitching on, 2 or 3 times a week with that injury he's coming off of. I think
he's never done it.
Yeah.
He's never done it. So
I think the candidate to go back would be Ranger. I think Ranger would be the guy that you could bump into the bullpen.
He's not max effort type of dude, or at least he doesn't look like he is, right? So I think this guy could scale it back, and he has a pulse of whatever has a low pulse. And, I'm trying to think of something that does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to just go to a few comments because we haven't done that a little bit. Steve gives us a fuck the Mets. And it's good to see you, Mike. We love you. Little Nancy with an FTM. John with an FTM.
Johnny.
Donna wasn't impressed with Joe Ross's outing. I think that's more of a join the club. And then one more FTM for David. So sticking with the new guys here, I liked Kepler. What I saw of him, I liked him. I think that if he can hit left-handers, his defense is really, really good. He's got a cannon for an arm. So in left field, I think, if there's a guy on second and there's a ground ball to left field, I think they're really going to question, am I going to go? It's got to be someone who's really fast.
Yeah, he's a right fielder playing left field, so he's got that. He's got that
a
big
gun.
Arm. Yeah.
And I think that translating right to left, yes, there's those different curves on the ball depending on which batter's playing. But when you have that kind of gun of an arm, and Citizens Bank, he's playing there 81 games, but that's 81 games at an easier left field, I would say, than most. So I don't love that they got another left-hander, right? But he has some positives about him. And if he can prove he can hit left-handers, which he has not proven.
Right.
He has not proven this almost ever. One year he had a good year against lefties. Most of them he didn't. So what are you guys' feelings on this?
Yeah, I've been impressed with him the first couple of times I've seen him. I really liked his approach. His swing looked shorter this year than I remember it being with Minnesota. I thought he got a little long with his swing. Now he's got pop. He's a guy who only a couple years ago was a 25+ home run guy. I think last year he only hit 12. But I think he got a little long with his swing. But I liked, hit first game he had a base hit back up through the middle. Today, he tattooed one right at the center fielder on a line. So I liked his approach. I like the short swing. Again, his defense is going to be a plus out in left field. We're not going to see anybody better than him out there. He was a Gold Glove right fielder. He's going to be catching balls behind his back, out in left field.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can, and we're not going to ask him to hit in the middle of the order like Minnesota did, so he's going to be down in the 7 spot or 8 spot in this lineup. And I think, he could be a really big contributor for the team with a little power. Again, the one negative, he's left-handed. That, we're kind of top heavy with left-handed bats. But I think his defense, and like you said, if he can hit lefties, at a decent level, I think he could be a really nice pickup for the Phils.
So one thing I'll just leave right there for a second. And then the second thing was what I really liked about, I read a little article about Kepler, is he came into camp willing to learn. First of all, he was in shape. Second of all, he's willing to learn what you were talking about, shortening his swing and all that stuff, putting the ball in play more. His whole approach changed, and that's hard to do with a veteran player. So I was happy to hear that.
Here's a couple other things I noticed from today. So later in the game, I think this is the 8th or 9th inning, Crawford's out in center. There's a right-hander at bat. He kind of hit one in the right center gap, but it was not hit terribly hard. It was a little bit in. Crawford's it was so smooth. When they pulled the camera back and you saw how much ground this dude covered, and it was so smoothly caught, I was like, all right, we might have a center fielder finally. We might finally have a center fielder. So
yeah, and I've liked his at bats too. I think he's hit the ball hard. He's put the ball
every time.
Yeah, he's making real good. I think he's made better contact than Miller at so far. Miller's seems to be scuffling a little bit at the plate.
They're all going in on him.
Yeah, I think Crawford is. He's looked good at the plate. He's hit the ball hard, and yeah, that was a hell of a catch today. Really, covered a lot of ground, and it looked easy, an easy diving catch. Which
It did, right?
It's
Like
hard to make a diving catch look easy.
Jim Edmonds would have dove for that, even if he didn't need to. That dude, I felt like just dove for shit that was like unnecessary diving.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
You know, he wanted to be on This Week in Baseball. So I got a text earlier today from Matt Klentak after Rincones hit the home run, and he's like, I would have signed him to 7 years right now. Matt Klentak was ready to
Latin slap nuts.
Yeah.
6 years, 24 million.
Oh yeah,
slap nuts deal.
But this dude has looked good.
Another lefty though. That's the
thing. I'm like, if this dude's right and he's hitting oppos, he's fucking huge. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
Even his outs are to the track. Like he's hitting everything, deep.
So we got to see Crawford, Steve and I, when we went to Reading last year. And it was the same thing. He made a really nice catch going in on the ball. I think it was towards left field, though, if I remember right, because we were sitting kind of right behind him. And then he hit a dinger and a double. So I agree with you. I didn't get to see today's game because I was out on the road, but I agree with you. This guy's fast. His arm is good. He can go and get the ball and he can hit. So where's the negative?
And he's got the pedigree. His dad was a major leaguer. He's been around the game. I mean, he's impressed me so far. And I know there were reports in before spring training, that the Phillies weren't as high on him as they were last year. And I'm not sure why after watching a couple games, watching the kid play.
I mean, could you imagine? And to Steve's point here, that's great to bring that up. Like, what if Crawford is like the right-handed's complement if, Gabe Krappler can't hit lefties?
Exactly.
Is he a switch hitter? Because he bats left, I think, Crawford.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was switch. Okay.
I think he's a left-handed hitter.
Well,
I've only seen him hit left so far.
Okay.
We just draft lefties and trade for lefties and sign lefties. That's our deal. Yeah. I like this question, guys. Let's go over this one. Do you think Stott will have a better year this year? That's from Nancy. Shout out, Nancy.
Yeah, so I always had a problem with players when they were like hurt, not saying they're hurt. And full admission, I would never say I was hurt either. Like same. I would lie my ass off and someone would have to pull me, right? Like,
I mean, you and I were 100% hurt every single time we went to pitch.
Yeah. But I think that this guy has shown those flashes, and then last year was like this just dramatic pullback, right? At the plate. Defensively, he's still solid. So I think he'll have a bounce back year. I think that it's in the Phillies' best interest to not have him in the top of the lineup like he probably should. I think he needs to get confidence. I think he performed well in 23 when he was lower in the order, right, guys? And, he was maybe one of the more clutch guys during the regular season and then into the playoffs.
And the biggest thing in that year was how good he was with two strikes. I mean, he got hit, his average was around 300 with two strikes, which is unheard of. And I saw something today. They did like a side-by-side of him from last year and at spring training this year. And he seems to have moved his stance a little bit where he's a little more straight up. He's not as hunched over. Okay. And I don't know if maybe he was hunched over last year because of the elbow injury. It helped him get to the ball a little better, being leaned over. But I think he's going to have a big year. I think the kid's too good of a hitter to have that 238 season again. Like, I don't think that's the hitter he is. I think he's maybe not the 300 hitter he was 2 years ago, but maybe like a 280, 285 guy and a perfect 6 or 7 hole hitter on this team. Like, and he plays plus defense. Like I think he's a really good ball player, and I expect him to be.
And he's a dad now, and that newness is over, and he has dad power. Yeah, you guys know that we're all a little bit stronger than we were, right?
I think also you were talking about, I think, Dugan, you were talking about who's setting the table for Harper. If he's hitting one, and that might be Stott in the 7, 8, 9 hole.
Yeah. It's interesting.
That
It's
is
interesting. I mean, and we've talked a lot about like left-handed bats that the Phillies have, and I think what we all know that one of the biggest issues they have is lack of right-handed bats. And with Weston Wilson, I think he was almost a lock to make this team,
I know.
and then he gets hurt. So it's like, where are they going to turn now? So they have guys like Buddy Kennedy, who is kind of like a jackrabbit, can play all over the field. They seem to
Swiss
like
Army knife.
Yeah, he can play. He plays pretty much anywhere. Bugs Bunny, he can play anywhere. Mercado, this Oscar Mercado, they seem to be high on. Big dude, real good defender in the outfield. But there's a couple guys that are still free agents that I want to throw out to you guys to just see how you think. Now they're older veteran guys, a la Matt Stairs in 2008, just a guy that you're going to pull in and they obviously being older, there's pluses and negatives to that. But one of the guys is Adam Duvall, who's a guy I always liked. He had some pop. I don't know if Adam Duvall is washed, but he can play the outfield. He's got some pop in a right-handed bat. Doesn't need to play every day. Can kind of, Kepler gets a tough lefty. Maybe you could throw him out in left field and get him a few at-bats. The other guy who I think is a better hitter than Duvall, but he doesn't really have a position, which is his guy's problem, is JD Martinez is still out there. I mean, he's a 283 career hitter. Right-handed bat with some pop 2 years ago, was 26, 27 home runs. Struggled last year with the Mets, but his problem would be he doesn't really have a position. Like he would have to DH and Schwarber would have to go in the field, or Schwarber would need a day off and to play this guy. So I don't know if either one of those guys are legitimate pieces.
Is he a guy who spells Harper at first? Because he used to play first a bit for the Red Sox.
He could. Yeah, he could. I like both those guys just because they give you that threat off the bench with power, that the Phillies they don't have. Who's going to be a right-handed bench? Sosa?
Yeah.
Marchand as a switch hitter,
Yeah.
They really don't have that, Buddy Kennedy, or, Oscar.
Nobody
Mercado.
that scares a pitcher, right? Like JD Martinez or Adam Duvall come up, pitchers, they think they know who these guys are. Like, those are two great throwouts.
Yeah, just guys I looked to see that they're still out there. They're both, they're 36 and 37, or they're up there. But I mean, 2 years ago, Duvall was playing center field for the Braves. So if they got any tread left on the tires, it'd be interesting to see.
I want to, before we get to this, Mike, I want to add something else as far as like what I think is a potential fit for a right-handed batter, to tag on to like, what if? So we have this guy, Taijuan Walker, that's owed a lot of money, right? And, maybe he'll be shown out in spring and have whatever kind of happens. I think that we have the opportunity to send this dude back where he fucking came from. And here's what I mean. He's making the same amount of money that someone is on the Mets that we could use. And he's not being played. He's in a platoon situation. He's incredibly unhappy. Starling Marte is a right-handed batter that can play center or the corner outfields. A straight-up swap, Taijuan Walker, Starling Marte. We get to hate the Mets even more if Walker's there. And it's always nice. Right. Is it possible, is it possible to us to hate them? We haven't done a trade with the Mets in season or even during spring training, like forever, like literally forever. I think it was that was the off season, I think.
Okay.
Like in the season, I think it was when we got was Juan Samuel in the Dykstra deal?
I don't remember. Was that the one with McDowell and Dennis Cook?
That's who it was. Yeah. So that's the last time. That was 91, I think. So like we don't really do business with them, but it's a situation where the salaries match up almost exactly. Walker's a little bit more than Marte, but like what if Starling Marte was available? Like, are you guys interested in him in the way you are with Dunn?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
He's
Like,
he's a threat at the plate. Like if he walks to the plate, pitchers know what he can do. He still runs, at least last year, he still runs well. And he can play defense, like Dugan said. So yeah, I'm in.
and he has no outfield position. They basically told him, you are DHing and you're sharing time with Winkler.
Yeah.
So like he's pissed off.
So
He's like, what the hell? I was starting and now I'm like a DH.
And the Mets have a couple of injuries in their rotation.
Well, that was the next point.
Yeah.
Manaya's out and
Yeah.
Frankie Montas is out. So they need starters now.
Yeah.
Just
So,
kind of
but
wondering.
what kind of marketing firm are you putting together to market Taiwan Walker? Like you need like somebody from Entourage to come in and sell the Mets on taking Walker back, in my opinion.
I guess the
love
question
the trade.
is Marte in the last year of his deal? Because isn't Walker got this year and next?
Marte's got 2, I think.
Okay.
So it's like
So
it
it's
really
pretty
matches
even.
up
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Like a straight up.
Mike, to your point, I don't know. I would say, like, listen, if he pitches 50 innings for you, we'll pay half his salary. If he pitches less than 50, we'll pay you $50,000 to take him, along with paying his salary.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing I read, I put it on the page the other day that we're talking about the Marlins payroll, and they have to get it up to a certain level to meet the collective bargaining agreement for the revenue sharing. So they're way below. Taking a guy like Taiwan Walker and dropping $18 million on your books, when you're not really thinking you're going to compete anyway. I mean, I think the Marlins might be an option if they don't find a way to, make money, make magic with that money. Maybe you just said, hey, here's $18 million, this year and next year. That'll help you out. We'll see. You don't even get anything back from the Marlins. Just say,
I was just going to say,
just
for
take
a
them.
bag of balls and Chick-fil-A Happy Meal.
I'd be happy with that big fucking Marlin statue that they had in center field that it's outside now. I don't know. I think that'd be cool to have. You could put it down by the Delaware River. You could put it by the Schuylkill.
I agree.
I think that's an equitable trade.
There you go. Put it out in Love Park.
Yeah.
You want to get to the Schwarber question from Steve?
Yeah. So Steve, thanks for this one. My opinion on this is, and just preface it a little bit. Since pitchers now have to come in and pitch to 3 batters, I'm not super concerned with this left-right nonsense. I'm just not. Where do I think I would want to? Schwarber's a 4 or 5 hitter to me, and I don't care. And Bryce is not going to move from the 3 spot. He's not going to do it. He said he's not doing it. He doesn't like it. It's Bryce Harper. He's the 3. I still think you put Schwarber there. Could you imagine the pitches that Harper would get with Schwarber behind him?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And Schwarber's already proven that he can have Trey Turner behind him that swings at fucking everything, and it doesn't matter. So if you have Castellanos or Bohm behind him, man, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah.
I'm doing 4 or 5 with him, no doubt. And I don't really care about which one. But Bohm's not a 4. I'll say that.
I love Bohm as a 2-hitter.
I agree with that.
I think Bohm is a traditional 2-hitter. The way he goes the other way, you bat him behind Turner. Turner's going to be first to third all day, on balls that Bohm hits. And, then Harper comes up. He don't have to worry about Bohm running. So that hole on the right side is going to be open if Bohm gets on base because he's not stealing any bases. I think you go Castellanos 4 and Schwarber 5 is what I'd like. And Stott as my 6. I think that's
you're left, right, left, or right, left, right.
Right, left.
That's like
6.
That sounds like when I was playing Mortal Kombat as a kid to do a fatality. It was like left, right, back kick, high kick, and then
code on Super Mario, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, this is a funny one. Marlin statue in Jetro Park.
There you go.
people throw coins in it and stuff. That would,
I thought that was
that
funny.
could be a money
Give you a
maker.
good target to piss on too when you're tailgating over in Tetra.
Oh my
It's a
god.
perfect target.
Yeah. No,
This
absolutely.
multifunctional solution there. I love it.
Yell at the kids, don't touch that. People are peeing on it. Yeah.
Guys, let's move into the ABS because it was something we wanted to talk about. We saw it in action today. The Blue Jays were basically like the first inning, they blew it, and they're like, called it twice and were wrong twice, and then it's gone. So I know they were only doing it in the spring, get a feel of it. I like it, but here's my problem. If a stitch hits the upper corner, and I'm talking like this like a pitcher, if it hits the upper corner, ABS calls that a strike. So 0.1% of the ball, a single frayed stitch could hit that. It's getting called a strike. I don't think that's right. I think in the major league, it should be 5 or 10% of the ball has to be in there. And they can measure this now, right? So I like it, but it can't be any part of the ball just kind of like, touching this strike zone.
I was more of a hitter than a pitcher, and I'm going to tell you I love it because I want guys swinging the fucking bats. I'm tired of it being a walk or strikeout game. And that's what the game has turned into with all the launch angle bullshit and the analytics. It's a walk or strikeout game. And I think if you're going to call more strikes, you're going to force guys to swing the bat more. So I love it. And I love how quick it was. And I really liked it because when JT did it today and got a strike, the whole ball was in the zone and it was called a ball. And it's like, those are the type of calls that need to be challenged and should be challenged because it's clearly a strike and the umpire missed the call. There was ones that were high out of the strike zone that were called strikes and they're a ball length above the zone, and if it's that obvious, I think it's a great system, but I don't care if it nicks the zone. It's a strike. I want guys swinging the bat. I'm tired of the walk and strikeout game.
But they're not going to do this. They're not going to do this stuff, Chris, for that, right? We kind of think for third or fourth inning, like, I don't know if they're doing it, right?
No, I would save it probably for later in the game.
Right,
Big
that's
spot,
where it's
men on
tough.
base,
So if it's so quick, why are we doing this two bullshit? Like, just let's get it right.
Yeah.
So they do that in the minors, and it's super fast. I don't think they have because we saw a couple of minor league games last year and they used it all the time. So I don't think it's restricted in the minors. I do like how quick it was, Dugan. It's like 5 seconds, not even. I would like a review of umpires that get things reversed, and then those umpires get demoted. Like you got to set it.
The other day they were talking about like the way that the umpires get graded, and it was like a few years ago. It was like they gave them like a tenth of a ball outside. If they were off, it was okay. Now it's like a ball length outside. Like the plate, they could be wrong by a full ball length, and it doesn't ding their grade. Like their scoring system is allowing these guys to not be very good. Which doesn't make any goddamn sense.
To be Angel Hernandez.
And I know it's hard. The ball's moving 100 miles an hour with break and slide and this and that. But,
I'm so curious how they measure the strike zone on these different players because I'm going to say in the game and you guys are going to be like, oh my God, this guy had 20 strikes called on him that were balls. Brandon Marsh on the high strike last year. He had 20, 30, I don't know. It could have been more than that called. So I'm just curious, like, guy 6'4", is it his crouch? Is it not his crouch?
I saw something, and don't quote me on it.
Yes,
it's something like 80% of their height of the body, or something like, or 20% of the box, like 20% of their height, like it's something like that. How tall the guy is the box.
So the one I saw, they compared Altuve versus Judge.
Yeah,
and Judge's piece of cardboard that they had was like at least 6 or 8 inches more than Altuve's. So there's a way that they calculate it I don't know what it is, dude.
Yeah, it's
What
off their
years.
height. It's some percentage of the
Oh,
player's height.
So they're
Look.
not measuring these guys. They're not putting them through some fucking matrix computer like they do Madden, putting the golf balls on them. Like, I thought that's what we're doing. And if we're not, why are we not doing it?
Yeah.
I don't know how they measured to get that piece of paper. It might have
Yeah.
been like that, but David says 15 to 80% of height.
Yeah.
That
He
seems like an
seems to know he's talking.
essay question, on an SATs. Like, what's 15% of 80%? I'm like, I don't fucking know. C.
Yeah. Well, I guess
Exactly.
the 15% is the lower part, right? Up to your knees,
Yes.
15% of your height, and then the other 65% is your trunk
Yep.
and
Okay.
your chest and all. So
Right. Is that based upon your stance or because like Pete Rose, like
yeah, he
is the
crouched
one you're
forward.
thinking of, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
or Rod Carew, these type, and there's not that many of these now. But I'm just curious how that kind of,
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
how that works out. I would like to see more than 2. I don't think this is going to be implemented until at least 2 more years in the MLB, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
I think we
I
need
like
David on. I think we need David on to tell us all about this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
I like it though. I think it's been great. And I mean, the Phillies got them all right today. It's like they're good. The Phillies are good at challenging every play. Like even when they challenge plays in the field, they usually get them right. Like, it's pretty good.
How many times do you think that the fucking Astros are going to cheat with this though? Because they'll be like, oh yeah, we're going to like be at this height and then we're going to have like stilts for shoes or like, super crouch down.
Just a little lift.
Or like change. Yeah. I'm like wondering, is this going to be like used or abused? Because like we said,
gonna,
right? Yeah, that rectangle changes per the person and their height, I guess.
It does.
So I think that's
not only is David knowledgeable, he's funny too.
Yeah, this
Nice
is
job,
good work. You want to take over? I mean,
yeah, right. We'll just go drinking.
That's funny. That's funny.
Do you want a trivia real quick?
Yeah, let's break it up. Let's do that.
All right. Who hit the first home run in
Don Money?
Clearwater? What? No, in Clearwater. Spring training. This is topical. Come on. In Clearwater, spring training, the very first game. It's the same year, 2000, and what was it, 4 that we opened Citizens Bank Park. They opened the new Clearwater Stadium. Who was the player in 2004 that hit the first home run?
Oh wow. 2004.
Mike Lieberthal.
No.
Jim Thome.
I was going to say Jim Thome. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Doug Glanville.
You're going to kick yourself in the ass when you hear it.
Huh.
Bobby Abreu.
Negative. I give you one more shot and then I'll tell you.
Scott Rowland.
No, close though. One position over. Jimmy Rollins.
Oh, okay.
Who was the starting pitcher that day
For the Phils?
for the Phils?
Randy Wolf.
Negative.
He started the opener. He started the opener at
He did
in 04. Yeah.
One of my favorite players' names to say.
Wow. 2004. Ben Rivera.
So I'll say close because they kind of pitched the same. Duckworth, no.
Oh, yeah. That was
Vincente Padilla.
Oh, man.
Padilla.
He was a real asshole.
Was he really?
Yeah. He was
I didn't know that.
His teammates hated him everywhere he went. But he was mean a little bit too. Yeah, everyone hated this dude. I don't know if he was, and he was a headhunter, if you remember that. He had nuts of steel. He was a fucking headhunter.
He had a little Joaquin Andujar in him.
Yeah,
That's a great call.
He had an absolute mean streak to him, which was like, I love that, but he was a headhunter too. So it's like he wasn't looking just to hit; he was looking to hurt.
Yeah.
And I think when he was with the Dodgers, he started headhunting Phillies at the time, whatever year that was. I always thought he had like a frog face.
He did. He does.
I always thought Padilla looked like a frog.
Last one. Who had the very first hit in that game against the Yankees, which we won 5-1, by the way.
Phillies hit?
Yeah, first Phillies hit.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Bobby Abreu.
Not far off, but no.
Not far off. So was Glanville there at this time? 04.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But it wasn't him.
It was not him.
I don't know.
Marlon Bird.
Marlon Bird. He's a little far off from Bobby Abreu.
Yeah. Well, I guess right field and center field.
Those are the ones I came up with. I thought they were kind of cool because we just started spring training and all.
I like that.
Yeah.
So let me throw this out to you guys. What are you most optimistic about going into the season, and what are you most pessimistic about going into the season?
You want me to go first?
Whoever.
So, most optimistic for me is the starting pitching, especially when they drop Ranger into the bullpen and put Painter in, which I get he had an injury, but like, come on, man. You're a professional athlete. Let's go. Secondly, I think we talked about it a lot. The bullpen kind of scares me a little bit. I'll love to see what comes out in the next about month with who does well in the preseason and who makes the team and what they juggle around. I'll be interested to check that in the bullpen, but it does scare me a little, like we talked about earlier. So
yeah, my optimistic is like I feel like this team is very much like the 79 Phillies going into 80. They know they're getting broken up if it doesn't happen. They know it. There's almost no doubt that it's not going to be the same. And I don't know if JT or Schwarber's coming back, but they're breaking this thing up. They can't bring it back a fourth time and expect people to, pay for it. So I'm hoping and I'm optimistic that we're going to see some moxie, things that we didn't see. Not talking about pouting. I'm talking about like getting out there and like showing that emotion that like we need, that kind of like late inning heroics, all of those things that may have been missing a little bit. And we kind of talked about this on the podcast a lot last year. Like, are we seeing emotion or are we seeing kind of like stagnation? And I'm hopeful that there's an emotion. I think these guys are close. I think they know this is their last year as is. So, that's my optimism, is that we're going to see that kind of something.
A little swagger, right?
Something, just something different.
I almost wonder if it wasn't like a level of complacency. Like we made it to the World Series. We made it to the National League Championship game. We're just going to do that again. Like we're just going to be there again because that's how good we are. They came out of the gates flying last year with, way ahead in the division. And, it looked like we were just going to cruise into the playoffs. And I think they kind of did. They kind of went in cruise control mode, at some point after London and played 500 baseball the rest of the way. And, couldn't sack up when they had to play the Mets. Like they just couldn't get it together again. And I think you're right, Chris. They need to have a little fire under their ass this year and play 162 plus, with your hair on fire,
I'll throw something out there. You talk about London. That was right after the All-Star break where we sent 8 dudes. Let's send 1 or 2 dudes that we know that can manage their health and have nobody in the home run derby. Alec Boehm doesn't need to be in the home run derby anymore. And like I think that rest, like I've been watching this 4-team hockey tournament that just ended. Well, then I watched the Flyers the last couple games, and they're freaking skating around everybody because they had a couple of days off. That's what the whole All-Star break is. You don't need to have half the team on the All-Star team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah, and my pessimist, I'm worried about Ranger Suarez. This dude stunk. He absolutely stunk the second half and showed no signs of being anything good. So we're like, oh, our starting pitching's so good. I don't know what Luzardo is either. So when you're 4 or 5, like Ranger was horrendous. And that's not an understatement. He was very close to Taiwan Walker numbers at the second half. So thinking that Ranger Suarez is your 4, I don't know about that, guys.
Yeah.
Caesar's on your team, my friend.
Oh, he's Ranger? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully Ranger can bounce back, but I think we all know Ranger isn't as good as he was in the beginning of last season. Hopefully he's not as bad as he was in the second half last season, and he just goes back to being Ranger. That 3.7, 3.8 ERA guy keeps you in games, gives you 6. That's what I'm hoping for out of Ranger. And then when the time's right, Mike, move him back to the pen. Hello, Mr. Painter, and I'm excited for Luzardo. I think Luzardo is going to be good. I mean, the one guy, and I've touted this guy for a couple of years now, is Sanchez. I think Sanchez is ready to be a star. I think that guy is so good, and I think he's only going to get better. I think they had him at 98 on the gun.
He bulked up and he's throwing harder. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, I am so excited to watch that kid pitch this year. I think he's going to be really, really good.
And it was funny. He was pitching against the guy he got traded for with the Rays, and he struck him out on 3 pitches, and it was like so overmatched. And I know it's only one thing, but I was like, wow, like maybe we got the better of a deal here.
Yeah. I like this kid. I always have. I mean, I like lefties with changeups, and his is as nasty as they come. And when you can complement that with a 97, 98 mile an hour fastball and can dot it, you're going to be tough most days. You're going to be really tough, on hitters. So I'm excited about Sanchez. I think Luzardo is going to be really good. I think he's similar makeup as Sanchez. Hard fastball, soft with the changeup and breaking ball. I think the Phillies, as 4 guys go, I'm confident in 4 of the 5. I want to see Ranger just be Ranger, not try to be Cy Young Ranger. Just be Ranger. Do your job. Throw strikes. Get us through 6 innings and get out of there. And I think we'll be successful doing that.
Throw 170 innings is basically what we're asking 4 and 5 to do, right? If they can do that, it lowers the impact on the bullpen, and now they're only have to do 2 innings at the end. So a lot of that, think about how much of a fucking disaster 5 was last year, and how many times the bullpen happened way early, 2nd, 3rd inning, so that kind of caused some problems, and it didn't stop. It was the entire, season. And part of it was like Topper putting this dude Walker in again and again and again. And you're like, how much do you need to see?
I think it was how much they owed him. It was like, $200,000 per inning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Tyler Phillips, he's got a shutout the next one. He's out in the 3rd inning. They're like, all right, see you at Lehigh, Tyler.
Yeah.
Take the bus home.
Yeah, they're like, all right, you're out. So that's tough. Chris, did you kind of really talk about what yours were?
I think the starting pitching, I think is, we guys all touched on that. I think that's really something to be excited about. I mean, Wheeler's Wheeler. I love Sanchez. I think Luzardo's going to be good. And really, the bullpen. And I'm concerned about the offense. I really think they need to change their approach. I mean, last year, in the first half of the season, they were more of a contact team. They were more putting the ball in play. And then all of a sudden they went back to their power ways of trying to swing out their ass. And it was the whole damn team. The whole damn team was doing the same thing. And I really think, they need to manufacture runs more this year than in the past. So the offense concerns me a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Why I was laughing? You named everybody except Nola.
Well, Nola's Nola. I mean, as much as we rip him, he's as consistent is. He's going to get the ball, take the ball every fifth day. He's going to go out there. He's going to give you one night. He's going to give you 7 good, maybe mix 2 bad within those 7. But he's going to take the ball, and he's going to be Nola.
They signed Aaron Nola, and they're going to get Aaron Nola.
Yeah, I mean, his numbers.
I just thought it was funny you didn't say
it. His numbers are going to go down as one of the best pitchers in Phillies history, and we rip his ass every chance we get. So it's just it's hard to believe, but he takes the ball. There's something to be said for that.
Yeah,
sure.
Kind of talking about someone that we rip on a lot, it's funny to me, and this is a story, Chris, I want you to really chime in on this. Alec Boehm is wearing a hooded sweatshirt in Clearwater. And, I humorously put up a thing that basically says, oh, Alec seems to be a little cold, or soft Alex or something like that. Not only did people come to his defense, you guys are fucking liars because 90% of you wanted this dude out of there. Yeah. That's number one. And number two, it's funny, on Facebook, how people get us. Twitter, they don't get us.
No, not at all.
Twitter don't get us. There's these Twitter guys that are like, oh, how would you feel about being this miserable today? It would be amazing to take a single post out of, we probably do 30,000 a year and say, wow, I'm going to take this and say these guys are miserable.
Yeah.
You know what I have to say to that? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Anyone who did that, fuck you. You're assholes. That's stupid shit.
Yeah.
No one does that. That's just dumb.
Take a joke.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, obviously, Chris, you were the one that put the post up, so your name was attached to it. But I think we all felt the same way. And I think the bigger indication is if you look at that picture, he's the only guy in that picture that is bundled up like that. That is and I get it. You go back, you look at the World Series when the Phillies won, Jimmy had the ear flaps and everything, but that's October in Philadelphia. It's not 60 degrees in Florida,
the funny part of it that people don't get the sarcasm, and Chris, I texted you. I was like, I would do the same thing. I hate the cold. Yeah. I was like, I'm sitting in my fucking office that has a heated floor. The wife has it 80 degrees, and I have a fucking hooded sweatshirt on and fucking slippers. So it's totally funny that people don't get it, they just really don't get that sarcasm part of it. But I get it. If you're not a follower, don't even comment.
Yeah.
Honestly, just don't comment.
So that's what Steve said, basically. If you don't have a sense of humor, get the hell out of the page. We're fine.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's the reactions were really funny. Some of them were downright oh my God, they hate us now. Oh, we said something bad about Alec Boehm. Oh my God.
And
look out.
And part of it's I want to because Chris and Mike, this about me. When I get pissed off, I'm even more I even say even more hilarious or funny shit. Right. And I was thinking for most of these, and I didn't do this, but I was going to, and it's just you know what? Yeah, we're real miserable giving $6,000 to charity here and $2,000 there. Yeah, it's a miserable life doing things.
Yeah.
Let me know when you guys. I didn't do that, but because it's petty and it's meant to be funny, and if people want to go off on their own route, they can. But
no, I agree. It is nice to remind everybody every once in a while. The page is sarcasm, a lot of the time. People thinking that our reactions to some no name coming in and blowing a game the other day is you fucking guys, it's not even a game that counts. What the hell's the matter with you? It's
that's the whole point.
That's the whole point. That's the point.
That's it. Are you new here?
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Join us for the ride of the season, newbie. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, April or May, and that's the other thing. I'm going to tell everyone right now, do not fucking say it's early. Do not do it. Because guess what? If they're a game down in, September, it could have been that one that you said it was too early to worry about.
Exactly.
That happened on, April 1st.
I was just going to say, it's happened before, too.
It could have been that game,
Yeah.
when you were saying it's too early and we don't need to worry about it and rush to judgment. And the other thing is, like, we're watching the game at you. If you're not doing that, you don't get that we're doing it in the moment.
Exactly.
This is you sitting next to your buddies at a bar watching the game. If you don't see a strikeout and just be like, this dude fucking swings at everything. What are we posting? This dude swings at everything. And it's often true. It's not true. So yes, I get it. It's difficult for some people to understand what's the reality of it and what's the sarcasm of it. So I do get that.
I think most of our 63,000 followers do get it.
Yeah, and that's what's the tough part when it's like when you look at 63,000 and it's close to 100,000 over everything. Like, am I going to let 10 people spoil it? Well, no. And I'm going to let everyone in that's listening to this on a little hint. We're not going to go back at you. We're not going to say anything. But if you get the care button, it ain't good. If you get the care button.
Caesar said, Facebook is your people. Twitter's commenters are cold in their mom's basement.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Nice job, Caesar.
But that care button, you don't want that one.
Yeah.
If you're not sure if the care button was, for what you think it is, it was. If it's like, oh, like my pet isn't doing well, the care button, like, yeah, that doesn't mean that there. But if someone says like it's early and we give the care button, it means what you think it is, the exact opposite. So you'll never see us kind of like rate well, not ever, but like sometimes we will. But it's normally just in fun because that's what we want to bring to the group is fun. And any bickering, we'll just block you. I'll just block you.
Yeah.
If you're bickering and I'm like, take it down or don't do that, I'll give you a chance. Sometimes not, because, if you're going to be a problem and, I see you have 9 friends and you're just on there written curse words and shit, you're out, Or like, if you're going on there saying like, hi, I've noticed your profile. You look like you have a really great smile. Man, there's been so many of these to like, and it's normally girls to like these guys that are on there. So like, guys, DPF, you're some of the most handsome men out there because there's a lot of these out there. And we do our best at blocking them maybe by the first or second time they do the comment. Because wherever they are in Thailand and Laos, Indonesia somewhere, they're very good at writing this program. It's like, let me look at this profile of this dude. Is it male? Yes. Then send this picture. And I've got 9 friends and I have an OnlyFans. So, and we can meet. So
you end up in a bathtub full of ice with 1 kidney.
There you go.
That's a problem. You have 2 of them. So that's lucky. That's how you get told, that's how you learn a lesson.
That's all.
That's it. So let's wrap it up. Let's go around the horn. We haven't done the wrap up in so long.
Oh, really? I haven't been here in so long, so I'll start. Guys, It's been great to get back on the horn with you guys here. I love all the interaction with the listeners and / viewers today. It's been great. If you're 45 years or older, please schedule a colonoscopy. It saved my life. I am now, this coming Tuesday, I'll do my 10th out of 12 treatments, and we'll make sure and, update you guys on how that all turns out. But check out our page. We still are running the colorectal cancer t-shirt and sweatshirt where the proceeds go to the Colorectal Cancer Foundation or Association. Sorry. So appreciate you guys letting me do that little spiel, and on to the next.
Yeah, I'll go next. Super excited that we've got to watch some Phillies baseball this week. It's been awesome. Even the first game, just listening on the radio was a blast to have baseball back. So I'm super excited about that. Saturday, I will be attending the Philadelphia Beer Fest with a couple of our special DPFers, Steve Mold and his wife Diane, and Sig and Alex are going to be there. So if anybody is heading to the Beer Fest and you see me, say hi. I'll probably have some stickers in my pocket. If anybody recognizes me, any DPFers with shirts on or hoodies on, go have a good time. Come stop by and see me. All right.
That's awesome. So I did this t-shirt exchange with other small businesses, breweries, whatever, and I'm going to be wearing them on the podcast or posting them. So I have one on today, and I'd like to just kind of give a shout out to, and this segues into what Chris is doing. PA craft beer lover. So thank you for the shirt. They sent it. Great group. Awesome merch. So check them out. I appreciate that. Andrew says he wish that Facebook would not censor the old Lucy dance. I think I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to see if they can still censor it. So Lucy used to like to dance to Tupac, but now I had to change it to what do you call it? The Humpty Dance by Digital Underground, because Facebook kept fucking, giving us this warning that are like, you're using language. And I'm like, what the hell? It's a cat. We got one and it was like sexually suggestive. I'm like, it's a fucking cat dancing. This thing's fucking broke. And I'm like,
a cat dancing.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah. And it's funny, you go all over Facebook, and we got dinged for like stupid memes where like this dude's putting his finger in the socket. It's everywhere. But like, I feel like Mark Zuckerberg is a Mets fan. So
that might be true.
Hopefully all of this nonsense that's kind of happening with like, they're going away from this third party that's doing it, and it's going to be like community. So if anyone's dinging it, it's going to be one of yous, or it's going to be one of like the Mets fans. So, guys, great chat today. And, as always, we're going to be back March 12th, I believe is the next show. So we're going to go bi-monthly, and then starting April, we're going to go weekly again once the season starts. So as always, fuck the Mets and have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks for watching.